This is a demonstration of the family context user journeys based on the prototypes that were developed in the private beta phase of the project. Family Context is a digital tool for local authorities. It allows social workers to easily access service involvement information on relevant individuals to a child. Its purpose is to facilitate conversations with lead practitioners from other services so that social workers can better understand and support families and safeguard children. The four services selected for the MVP of the tool include adult social care, housing, police, and school. What family context recognizes is that local authorities each have their own local circumstances. There may be differences in children's social care practice, technical infrastructure, and the availability of data. Family context has been developed in a way so that it is flexible enough to work within local authorities' different circumstances. I will show you some of this flexibility through demonstrating the two different user journeys of family context. Before we go into this, let me explain what a user journey is. A user journey is the path a social worker takes to reach their goal of accessing family context information when using the tool. The steps in this process are broken down by the different screens that a social worker will view. Here we have the two different user journeys for family context. The top one shows the user journey selected by leads. In this user journey, a social worker will log in, search for a child, select a child, view a child's detail page with linked individuals, and then go on to view linked individuals' service involvement. At the bottom, we have the user journey selected by Stockport. In this user journey, a social worker will log in, search for an individual, select an individual, and view an individual's service involvement. As you can see, there are parts of these user journeys that are common. However, there are some key differences, and I will explain these throughout the demonstration. I will now demonstrate the user journey selected by leads. When a social worker opens the tool, they will be faced with this authentication screen, where they can put in their credentials and log in to start their session. They will then be taken to a search screen. A local authority can choose how searches will be performed in the tool. This includes searching by name, searching by case ID, or having the option to search by name or by case ID, as is shown here. A key difference about this user journey is that searches can only be made on children that are listed in the case management system. In this case, I'm going to search for a child by name. A social worker will then be taken to a screen showing the search results. It is important to note here that this screen would not appear if a search was made by case ID, because searching by case ID results in an exact match where the social worker will be taken straight to an individual's page. As you can see, there are some additional fields to help social workers select the correct child. There is also a health warning at the top, which is intended to remind social workers that they will be viewing some sensitive information. I can then select the correct child from the list. I've now been taken to that child's detail page. At the top of the detail page, social workers will be able to see the child's basic information, and below that, they will be able to see their service involvement. In this case, we can see that school is listed as a service, and what we see here is a closed view, where a flag indicates whether or not records are available. A social worker could then click on the plus sign to see the expanded view, which will show some additional information on that service, including the details to contact a practitioner from that service. What differentiates this user journey is that below the child's service involvement is a list of suggested individuals that have been linked to the child in the case management system. So here I can see that the mother and the grandfather are listed, which means that they would have been linked to the child in the case management system. Social workers would only be able to view service involvement information for any additional individuals if they were listed here. If a social worker became aware of another individual that may be relevant to the case and wished to view their service involvement information, they must go back to the case management system, link that individual to the child, and then wait up to 24 hours for that individual to be listed in the tool here. From this list, a social worker could select an individual and they would be taken to their individual detail page. Like the child's detail page, the individual's detail page has their basic information at the top, followed by their service involvement. Again, this starts off by showing a closed view where the flags indicate whether records are available for a particular service. So, for here, I can see that housing and police records are available, but adult social care records are not available. A social worker could then expand the information that they want to view and see further detail about that service involvement, including the date of the individual's involvement, the nature of their involvement, and the contact details of practitioners from that service. This level of information was chosen very carefully for each service to ensure that it facilitates conversations with practitioners from other services rather than replace them. This is the user journey Leeds has chosen to implement. For another local authority to implement this user journey, they need to make sure that it is already part of social workers' normal practice to record on related individuals, because this user journey relies on there being sufficient data on linked individuals in the CMS. I'm now going to show you the user journey selected by Stockport. This user journey is suitable for local authorities that do not have sufficient data recorded on linked individuals in the case management system. Like the previous user journey, social workers will be faced with an authentication screen when they open the tool. And again, they can put in their credentials to log in. They will then be taken to the search screen. And once again, local authorities can choose which search options to make available. The key difference about this user journey is that a social worker can search for any individual that they believe to be relevant to a case. Their search is not restricted to the children that are listed in the case management system. In this example, I still might choose to search for a child first, but this time I'll do so by their case ID. This uses the same ID for a child in the case management system. Because I search by case ID, it takes me straight to that child's detail page, where once again, you have the basic information at the top, followed by their service involvement information at the bottom. In this case, it does not list any of the suggested individuals that are linked to the child in the case management system. A social worker would have to repeat the process to view service involvement information on any other individual that they believe is relevant to the case. I'm going to do this by selecting to do a new search, and in this case, I'm going to search for the child's parent to view their service involvement information. So I might do that by name, in which case I'd be taken to the search results screen, where I would have to select the correct individual before being taken to their detail page. Basic details at the top, and their service involvement details at the bottom. The final feature that I'm going to show you is the information page that shows conditions under which service involvement information is shown in the tool. This page is part of both user journeys, and there is a link for it wherever service involvement information is listed. The page is broken down by each service, and it shows the rules that determine whether information on that service is shown. So, for example, the ages of the individuals that are included, but also the type of individual's involvement. So for police, social workers can see the safeguarding offences that are included with the tool and also the non-safeguarding offences that are included in the tool. This page aims to give social workers more clarity on the service involvement information that is included with the tool.